Hello everyone, this is Earth Archives. We all know that modern military equipment originated from the war needs of World War II, but in addition to these, there are also some incredible weapons, whether it is the Allies or the German Army. Today we will learn about them together. Before the show starts, please subscribe, share, and turn on the little bell. This will help us grow faster. Without further ado, the show begins. World War II wasn't just a clash of armies and ideologies, it was a showdown of scientific prowess and technological ingenuity. As John Curatola, a senior historian at the National World War II Museum, aptly puts it, it was a war of technology, a war of science. In this high-stakes game of innovation, every side was scrambling to outwit and outgun the enemy, resulting in some truly bizarre and unconventional weapons. One of the most iconic symbols of this technological arms race was the Manhattan Project, a top-secret endeavor by the United States to develop the atomic bomb. This massive undertaking brought together some of the greatest scientific minds of the era and forever changed the course of history. But alongside these monumental achievements were a slew of strange and often impractical weapons dreamed up during the chaos of war. From flying bombs to bat bombs, here are 7 of the weirdest inventions to emerge from World War II. 1. Bat bombs, USA. In the annals of strange wartime ideas, few can match the curious case of the bat bombs, a concept that sounds like it sprang from the pages of a comic book rather than a dentist's office in Pennsylvania. Picture this, it's early 1942, and Dr. Lytle S. Adams, a dental surgeon from the Keystone State, is struck by inspiration during a visit to Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico. His brainchild, weaponized bats. Yes, you heard that right, bats armed with incendiary devices, dropped from airplanes like some airborne army of darkness. In a move that would make even the most seasoned bureaucrat raise an eyebrow, Adams pens a letter to the White House outlining his batty idea. And somehow, against all odds, his proposal doesn't get filed away in the crazy suggestions drawer. Instead, it lands on the desk of the Army Chemical Warfare Service. The logic behind the bat bombs is oddly compelling. Bats, after all, have a penchant for nesting in dark, secluded places, like the eaves of buildings. Strap a tiny incendiary device to their backs, drop them over a Japanese city, and watch chaos ensue as these nocturnal aviators unwittingly set off a string of infernos. Undeterred by the sheer audacity of their plan, both the US Army and Navy threw their weight behind the bat bomb project, sinking millions of dollars and countless man-hours into capturing and training these unwitting winged warriors. But try as they might, they couldn't quite get the bat bombs off the ground. In the end, the project was quietly shelved in 1944, consigned to the dustbin of history alongside other failed wartime experiments. Adams, for his part, remained convinced of the devastating potential of his creation, boldly claiming that bat bombs could have outmatched the destructive power of the atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, all while causing fewer civilian casualties. 2. The wind cannon, Germany. As the Allies ramped up their bombing raids over German cities, the Axis powers found themselves in a tight spot. Short on resources and facing an onslaught of bombs raining down from above, Adolf Hitler and his cronies knew they needed something extraordinary to turn the tide of war in their favor. Enter the Wunderwaffen, Germany's answer to the Allies' relentless aerial assault. These wonder weapons were meant to be game changers, striking terror into the hearts of the enemy and reversing the fortunes of war. But as history would reveal, not all wonders lived up to their lofty promises. At the forefront of Germany's arsenal were the V1 and V2 rockets, towering testaments to the ingenuity of their creators. Launched from continental Europe with the sole aim of raining destruction upon London, these deadly projectiles heralded a new era of warfare, one in which the skies themselves became a battleground. But not all of Germany's experimental weapons were as awe-inspiring as the V1 and V2. Take, for instance, the Windkanon, or wind cannon, as it's known in English. This anti-aircraft weapon was unlike anything the world had ever seen. Instead of firing bullets or shells, it unleashed a mighty blast of air, compressed nitrogen and hydrogen, to be precise, with the aim of knocking enemy aircraft out of the sky. In theory, the wind cannon sounded like something out of a sci-fi novel, a weapon capable of toppling planes from the heavens with nothing more than a powerful gust. And indeed, in tests, the wind cannon showed some promise, demonstrating its ability to snap a wooden board in half from a distance of 200 meters. But when it came time for its moment of truth, Hitler's expensive airgun proved to be a colossal disappointment. Deployed on a bridge over the Elbe, the wind cannon failed to live up to its lofty expectations, leaving its creators scratching their heads and wondering where it all went wrong. 3. Project Habakkuk, UK. In the tumultuous early years of World War II, the North Atlantic became a battleground fraught with peril. German U-boats prowled the waves, lurking in the shadows and striking fear into the hearts of Allied sailors. But amidst the chaos and carnage, one audacious plan emerged, a plan that would defy conventional wisdom and rewrite the rules of naval warfare. Enter the mid-Atlantic Gap, a vast expanse of ocean too distant from American and British shores to be adequately protected by conventional means. It was a prime hunting ground for German U-boats, a deadly no-man's land where Allied ships and sailors were left vulnerable to attack. In the face of this dire threat, a bold idea took shape, a floating fortress, a sanctuary of steel and ice that would serve as a bulwark against the U-boat menace. And at the heart of this audacious plan was a remarkable substance known as picrete, a blend of ice and wood pulp that boasted unparalleled strength and resilience. Conceived by the brilliant mind of British inventor George Pike, picrete promised to revolutionize naval engineering. With its bulletproof properties and remarkable durability, it seemed tailor-made for the task at hand. And so, Project Habakkuk was born, a grand vision of a floating airbase, a mile-long behemoth weighing a staggering 2.2 million tons. But the true genius of Project Habakkuk lay not just in its size, but in its versatility. Its thick ice hull could repel torpedoes with ease, while its hollow interior provided ample space to house planes and smaller vessels. And in a stroke of ingenuity, any damage sustained could be swiftly repaired with nothing more than additional layers of ice. With dreams of victory on the horizon, a 1,000-ton scale model of Project Habakkuk was constructed and put to the test on a frozen lake in Alberta, Canada. But alas, by the time the design was finalized, advances in long-range fuel tanks had rendered the ice cube carrier obsolete, a relic of a bygone era. 4. Exploding Rats, UK. In the shadowy world of wartime espionage, truth is often stranger than fiction. Case in point, the ingenious spy gadgets concocted by the British Special Operations Executive, SOE, during World War II, which served as the real-life inspiration for the iconic James Bond. With cunning and creativity, the SOE spared no expense in their quest to outwit the enemy. From Chianti bottles to Balinese wood carvings, their arsenal of disguised explosives knew no bounds. But perhaps their most bizarre creation of all was the infamous exploding rat. Picture this, 100 dead rats, meticulously procured under the guise of a lab experiment. But these were no ordinary rodents, each one was stuffed to the brim with plastic explosives, ready to wreak havoc behind enemy lines. The plan was audacious in its simplicity. So agents in London would dispatch these clandestine creatures to their counterparts in German-occupied France. There, they were tasked with planting the explosive rats near the boilers of factories and trains, where unsuspecting German soldiers would unwittingly hurl them into the fires, triggering devastating explosions. Yet, as with any grand scheme, the devil lay in the details. How do you ensure that the rat gets into the boiler? Muses Curatola, highlighting the logistical challenges of such a daring operation. It was a question that would remain unanswered. For fate had other plans in store. Before the plan could be set in motion, the package of dead rats fell into the hands of the enemy. The Nazis, ever vigilant, intercepted the curious cargo and promptly dispatched specimens to military schools across Germany, warning cadets of the insidious threat of exploding rodents. And so, while the mission may have ended in failure, its impact was far-reaching. In a stroke of poetic irony, the mere mention of rat bombs sent shockwaves through the ranks of the German military, instilling a pervasive sense of paranoia that lingered long after the threat had passed. 5. The Panjandrum. As the Allies geared up for the monumental task of storming the beaches of Normandy on June 6, 1944, the Germans were busy fortifying their defenses along the coastline with the formidable Atlantic Wall. Stretching for hundreds of miles, this network of fortified artillery positions, minefields, and trenches posed a daunting obstacle to any would-be invader. In the face of such formidable defenses, the Allies knew they needed more than sheer manpower to breach the Atlantic Wall and gain a foothold in Normandy. Thus began a race to develop innovative new weaponry and technology to tip the scales in their favor. Among the most intriguing creations to emerge from this period were the aptly named Funnies, a series of modified tanks equipped with an array of specialized tools and gadgets. These ingenious vehicles were armed with rotating flails designed to safely detonate landmines, while others boasted the ability to bridge anti-tank trenches using bundles of logs. Yet, amidst the flurry of inventive solutions, not every concept proved to be a stroke of genius. Case in point, the ill-fated Panjandrum. This rocket-propelled metal wheel, armed to the teeth with explosives, was envisioned as a swift and deadly weapon capable of hurtling up the beach, crashing into fortified walls or gun turrets, and reducing them to rubble in its wake. Indeed, tests of the Panjandrum in 1943 and 1944 were nothing short of disastrous. With its erratic trajectory and unpredictable path, the rocket-propelled wheel proved to be more of a liability than an asset. Consequently, it was swiftly dropped from D-Day preparations, relegated to the annals of military misadventures. In the high-stakes game of wartime innovation, not every idea can be a winner. Yet, it is through the daring pursuit of the improbable that the seeds of victory are often sown. And though the Panjandrum may have faltered, its legacy serves as a reminder of the boundless human ingenuity, and the occasional folly, that shaped the course of history. 6. Anti-tank attack dogs, USSR. In the tumultuous early days of World War II, the Soviets embarked on a chilling experiment, one that would push the boundaries of warfare into dark and ethically dubious territory. Enter the K-9 suicide bombers. Trained with grim precision, these four-legged soldiers were tasked with a harrowing mission: to target and destroy German tanks. Each dog was outfitted with a backpack laden with several pounds of explosives, primed to detonate upon activation. As they approached their targets, a lever on the backpack would be triggered, unleashing a devastating explosion. It's a grim tableau. Amidst the chaos of battle, these loyal animals would dart beneath the hulking mass of enemy tanks, their fate sealed by the simple depression of a lever. Yet, despite the Soviet Union's investment in training and deploying these K-9 combatants, the reality proved to be far less effective than envisioned. The Nazis, ever resourceful, swiftly devised a countermeasure: the simple act of shooting any dogs spotted on the battlefield. In the face of such ruthless opposition, the noble sacrifice of these anti-tank dogs often went tragically unrewarded. Estimates suggest that as many as 40,000 Soviet dogs were trained for this perilous duty. Yet, for the vast majority, their journey ended in futility, their valiant efforts thwarted by the relentless advance of enemy gunfire. 7. The Krumlauf, Germany. The Krumlauf, Germany's audacious attempt at bringing a touch of Looney Tunes flair to the battlefield. Picture this: a rifle with a barrel that bends like a pretzel, allowing soldiers to shoot around corners like some kind of cartoon marksman. This contraption wasn't just a figment of imagination, though. It was a real-life attachment designed for the MP-44 rifle, a standard-issue firearm for German troops during World War II.